All right, hello Year 8. Welcome to the example of your presentation. So what you're going to be looking at is three options first. You're either going to choose to do a PowerPoint, or you're going to choose to do an audio of 1 minute, or you're going to do a video. Now, I've kind of done a little bit of both. I've got a video here and I'm using a PowerPoint as my background. Now, again, I'm combining two. You don't have to do this. I'm using a thing called Loom, L-O-O-M, that a lot of junior school people are doing. But again, you can just do a PowerPoint or an audio or a video to tell us all about the answers to your 5 questions. So I'm going to pick an example that I don't have for you just to make it fair. So I'm using COVID-19 or coronavirus as my health issue. Now, I've given you a list of health issues, including heart disease, antibiotics or superbugs, and there's a list there that you can choose from, but I've chosen one off that list just to make it fair, so I can kind of give you an example without giving too many things away. So, covering 5 questions, here we go. 1, I've just got an intro slide here, so that's fine. But if we now go down, this is my first question. So again, I have to highlight what the question is, and question number 1, what's a human health issue? And I've gone through, and even though it says kind of a couple of sentences only, I've allowed and given you specific detail on what coronavirus or COVID-19 is. So you can see that there's 4 things there. So in my presentation, I just summarize what I see there. But again, I'm not going to, I want it to be very visual if I'm doing a PowerPoint, because that's the way I want to get it across. Okay, so I would go through and kind of shorten everything down there as much as possible. But again, it's a visual representation of what I'm saying. So I would go through that. And then part 2, what's the science that has led to finding this solution? Now, be very careful. It's not the science of everything. It's what is the science of this idea? So I'll just move myself out of the way a little bit. You can see here that there's 2 main ideas that I wanted you to get across. If I was presenting this information. It's about 2 people, Edward Jenner and Louis Pasteur. And then I would highlight, again, all the information's there, but in a presentation like this, I would just highlight the specifics and the interesting ones, just like, hey, Jenner back in the 1700s or the 1800s looked at cowpox and was trying to figure out how to use cowpox to sort out this issue with human smallpox, and it was disgusting. All right, and then you had the further on in the 1900s, 1880s, you had this Louis Pasteur, which is where we got pasteurization of milk from, and he specifically found out that there was certain ways using vaccines or a certain vaccination program to target specific diseases, and some examples are influenza and tuberculosis. Can you see how in this one I'm going to talk about what is the knowledge of science necessary? All right, so it's very easy to go off on a tangent here. Be careful not to do too much and to give me random information. Specifically talk about, if I'm talking about coronavirus, then I specifically talk about, well, what's the main knowledge necessary to find a solution for a coronavirus? Well, we needed Jenner and we needed Pasteur's ideas first and foremost. That was the scientific knowledge necessary. Then question 3. Question 3 is, how has development of a technology contributed to finding a solution? What is the tech? What is the device? What is the item that we need? Now, it could just be a computer program. It could be a bit of math. It could be a specific handheld or big device, as big as a room. But what is the technologies? Now, this specifically is this answer here for me. It would be adeno or mRNA vaccines. So the technology necessary to make an mRNA vaccine, like the one that I just had 2 days ago, Pfizer, they needed a specific technology called genome sequencing, which is this little box that you splash a little bit of the item in coronavirus, and it tells you the DNA and the sequence of the DNA of that coronavirus. Amazing. All right. So you needed genome sequencing in order for them to now make mRNA vaccines. And the last two, what's the technology that can then be imagined? This is future. So in your example that you're going to give, tell me what's the possible future. And you can look that up online. People have talked about, for me anyway, vaccinations. There is a future thought about where vaccines can go. And in my example, I will outline that. And you can see that there, talking about personalized vaccinations rather than just general vaccines, one for everybody. It's personalized ones, or you get these specific vaccines for your certain influenza, or this SAR RNA vaccines, which are pretty cool as well. And then the last one is who in our society might reject this technology and why. All right. So for me, with COVID-19 and the solution to this health issue, which is vaccinations, or Pfizer or Moderna or AstraZeneca, whichever one you know about, the people who reject this vaccination idea are the anti-vaxxers, and I would talk you through why people are possibly anti-vaxxers. Now, we don't want to, I don't want to be negative about it. We just want to say who they are and why they do it. You don't have to judge whether you agree with anti-vaxxers or not. And I wouldn't if I was doing this presentation. I would just tell you about, hey, anti-vaxxers do reject these new vaccines, and this is why they do it. You don't have to make a judgment call on that, but you can say the ethics behind it and the political or religious reasons why they wouldn't do it, but just you don't need to judge. All right, that's a really quick overview of an example or an exemplar of one of these projects. So again, don't do COVID-19. You can't do that. Pick one from the list that I've given you, and hopefully that gives you a way to think through these 5 questions in the next 2 lessons. All right, good luck.